Hello everyone and welcome back to Amity Blue. My name is Nazy. Today I'm going to be sharing part 2 of the Decorate Your Traveler's Notebook with Me series. If you haven't seen part 1, I will attach it up at the top and it will also be in the description box. Definitely make sure you check out that video so that you know where the inspiration came from, what are the items that I'm going to be using, and my plan for decorating my traveler's notebook. Alright, so let's take out the inserts that are in my traveler's notebook already. Does anyone else keep all of your inserts? I just feel bad throwing them away. I like to just keep them, and plus they're so tiny anyway because this is a field note size. It doesn't really bother me in the slightest. I just feel bad throwing them away, and what if I want to come back to them, you know? So one of my tips, don't throw away your old inserts unless you truly don't like it and they don't, spark your creativity and they don't make you happy. I'm going to keep my inserts here at the top just as like some inspiration and for the sizing and measurements for the inserts that I'm going to make. I know for a fact that I want to focus on the first like decorative insert portion because when you open a traveler's notebook, it's really important that the first thing you see draws you into your traveler's notebook. It makes you happy, it inspires you. I like to call that my presentation page or like my introduction page. So this is the paper that I want to focus on as like my presentation page. I know for a fact this is the first thing I want to see when I open up my traveler's notebook. So this, let me take this for example. This was basically kind of like my presentation page. It was just a piece of scrapbook paper that I folded in half. And I think I'm going to follow the same idea, but I'm going to collage some things on top of it. So let me take my paper trimmer. I'm going to push that aside up. And I'm just going to cut the middle. So this is what I have left with. And I want to see what the size should be. So it's obviously a little bit bigger than what I initially planned. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the front page like a presentation page and the back page a pocket. I'm not measuring with the ruler. I'm not making this absolutely perfect because it's for myself. I'm not really nitpicky about measurements as I would be if I was like creating a journal or something like that. There we go. I really like how that looks. It's kind of like a trifold. That's initially what we created. So let me see how it looks like on top of an insert. And that's pretty good. I like that it covers it up. It is a little bit too big, so I think I do have to trim off maybe just a millimeter or so. Let's put this there. Perfect. It covers it perfectly and you don't have any overhang up at the top. So the front portion is taken care of. Now we're going to focus on the back. And the back, like I said, I want it to be a pocket. I'm going to take my paper trimmer again and I'm just going to cut a little bit off. Just a little bit. That's perfect. I love that size of the pocket and I really enjoy that the image is still there. Save your scraps. I cannot stress that enough. Save your scraps. They don't, they don't deserve to be thrown in the trash. So save your scraps. I need to decorate the inside because I do not like just leaving it white and bare. So on the inside, as you can see, this paper already had some color on the inside, and on the inside I'll definitely add a picture of my family. This will become a pocket so I can put like sticky notes in there, but I do want to decorate this portion. Let's start with the inside first. So I'll only have to decorate these two since this will become a pocket. So I found this wallpaper in my wallpaper stash and I just thought the florals were beautiful and I think it would look perfectly if I just placed it right in there. Doesn't that look cute? And then this obviously will fold over. It just makes such a pretty design to look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, add some tape or some glue. Now, I get lots of questions as to how to adhere wallpaper. And the number one thing that I have is obviously sewing is number one. That's just the easiest way to adhere wallpaper, but if you don't have a sewing machine, the next best thing is using double-sided tape. Now you want to use a strong double-sided tape This is because I find that using liquid glue or like a glue stick just doesn't cut it. It's not sticky enough. You can also always put washi tape on the edges, but basically, just to stay on the safe side, stick to double-sided tape or sewing your wallpaper, because if you take a look at wallpaper, because of the way that wallpaper is stored, it always has a little curve. So it does not remain flat. And because of this, if you adhere glue and you press it down, most likely what will happen is that it will start to curl up or it won't adhere perfectly. So if this is your first time working with wallpaper, I definitely recommend just sticking to double-sided tape, as it's the easiest way. And if you are comfortable with a sewing machine, or if you own a sewing machine, definitely sew around the edges so that the wallpaper will lay flat. But nonetheless, you can always just adhere it with double-sided tape. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wallpaper and I'm just going to level it so that it covers all of these areas just like that. And then I left this little flap open, and that's because we don't need it. That's basically excess. So I'm just going to fold that flap like that. And you can take your paper trimmer, you can take your scissors, you can take whatever you have. I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off the excess. I'm going to also cut the excess from the edges. This is the easiest way I find to decorate the inside of scrapbook paper, is just adhering glue and then putting your paper over the glue and then just trimming off the excess. As you can see, my paper is wanting to curl outwards, which tends to happen if you're working with wallpaper. An easy way to combat this is obviously taking your sewing machine and stitching along the edges, which is what I will end up doing just because I want to sew up the pocket and then I will continue the stitch all along. But something else that you can do is obviously add double-sided tape to your pocket so that you enclose your pocket. Bring in your wallpaper just like this, and then lay a heavy item or book right on top of it so that it flattens it out perfectly. And that way it will stop the warping. You know, naturally wallpaper will warp, but if you structure it and you put pressure on it, then it will remain flat. So now that we have decorated the inside, I'm going to round the corners. And I like rounding the corners on my traveler's notebook inserts or folders just because I feel like it gives it a very elegant look. I'm also going to round the corners on my pocket. There we go. Obviously, you don't have to do this step if you don't like rounded corners. You can just leave them square. This is my little round corner puncher. I got it by the Paper Studio and they sell this at Hobby Lobby. Before I go ahead and stitch it all together, I thought it would be really fun to type up some words in typewriter font and put them right here in the pocket, just to make it more personalized and give it more of a special feel. Obviously, you don't need a typewriter to get the typewriter font. You can go online and type this up on your computer, but I'm just going to use a scrap piece of book paper. I'm going to be using a scrap piece of paper from a book page, and I'm going to be using it for the border here, and I placed it right here so that you can see it. I'm not going to be using where the words are, I'm just going to be using the border. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put it upside down through my typewriter machine, and I'm going to type up what I want to put on the cover of my folder flap. Perfect. So I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but I typed special things kept here. So I'm going to go ahead, cut that out, and I'm going to stitch it onto the cover. Alright, so I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut a straight line. There we go. That's perfect. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere it. This reminds me of the little like fortunes that you get in your Chinese like takeout cookies. It's so cute. Imagine making a ton of these and putting them inside of cards. I don't know. I just think that's really adorable. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it on to the middle part of my flap. And I'm not going to glue it on permanently because I do want to pass it through my sewing machine. But you can easily just adhere it with glue, or you can adhere it with your sewing machine as well. There you go. It looks really, really cute, and it gives it a nice vintage touch. So I'm going to now go ahead, stitch that together, and then stitch the pocket and stitch the border. Alright, so I'm going to start out by sewing this little font piece first to the flap, because you don't want to sew this to the flap and then obviously sew your pocket shut. So I'm going to pass this through my sewing machine, starting off with a little bit off at the margin. And I'm using a white thread for this. You want to sew as close to the margin as possible. So I just cut off the excess threads, and this is what we're left with. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch the pocket closed. And you can do a zigzag pocket. I like to do just a regular line stitch all around, as I think this looks very classy and just elegant. And once you're done sewing the pocket, you then want to continue to sewing the rest of your page. And then this is what you're left with. You see the stitched border going all throughout. If you want to try to do this, it's very important to try to follow a straight line, as it's going to create a border effect for your image, and it tends to look a little sloppy if your line isn't straight. But definitely practice beforehand, and like I said, you can always just use double-sided tape and it will get the job done as well. And this is the final result. As you can see, our little message is stitched perfectly onto the cover, and you created a little pocket that you can put your special things inside that make you happy. You have a really pretty decoration page on the other side, and this is something that I love doing in my journals and I love implementing in my traveler's notebooks as well. Keeping a decoration page and yet having a functional page as well. Pockets are very functional because you can put so many things in there, and because this is a traveler's notebook, I am going to have to put different types of things in separate pockets, so this is perfect. And then obviously the front page, it's this beautiful tile design. I don't want to change this. I think this is beautiful all on its own. I probably sometimes will add some washi tape and we'll add a card or just something different paper clipped onto it, but this is just beautiful and I want to leave it just like that. So here is the first decorative portion of my traveler's notebook all finished. I am so excited to see all of this put together. I love how this is turning out, and I cannot wait to see what the other inserts that I create will look like. Definitely leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, and become a member of this family if you enjoyed and you'd like to see more. I will be posting all of the different parts throughout this month, as I want to start using this traveler's notebook, but I can't until I finish all of the inserts. I can't wait to start using this traveler's notebook. If this is my first introduction page, then I can't wait to see how I create my inserts and how I'm going to be using them. I will definitely be creating flip throughs as to how I use it once it's finished and decorated, so definitely stay tuned for the rest of the videos for this series. And of course, my wonderful family, until next time, I hope that you guys have a wonderful day filled with peace and love. Bye-bye.